Welcome to the Web Design Business Podcast with your host, Josh Hall, helping you build a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
Hey friends, welcome into the show. This is episode 232. We're going to take a bit of a sidestep in this episode and get into a topic that is a little bit different for this podcast, but is nonetheless so important, particularly when life happens. And by saying life happens, that could be any sort of situation that pulls you away from your business and just brings you into a tough season of life. And the reality is, one thing that I've learned as a parent, some of you know the journey we've been on with my daughter recently and have been in the past, it's that sometimes life brings a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles, but the bills keep on coming and business keeps on going. So to be able to manage your business, to grow your business while taking on a tough situation is extremely hard. And I know when I went through it, I felt very alone. So I wanted to have a colleague of mine on to the show in this one to share her experience this past year with being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, going through multiple surgeries, rehabilitation, and chemo, all while keeping her business afloat. Actually, not even keeping her business afloat, but get this, in 2022, she actually had her best year ever. I'm so excited to welcome on Betty Kempa. Now, Betty and I have been in a mastermind group together for over a year now, where once a month we get together with a couple of other awesome entrepreneurs and we just talk business and shop and share some challenges that we help each other out with. And I saw Betty go through this situation this past year, and I am so incredibly inspired by her mindset, by her spirit, and by her willingness and transparency to help others who go through a tough life situation as well. So this episode, I hope it gives you some encouragement and some inspiration. For those of you who have been through something, maybe you'll find this very relatable and have some things to add. If you're going through something now, I hope this helps you in all the ways that I just mentioned. And maybe for those of you who maybe are going to go through a season at some point in your life, I hope you can come back to this episode and learn from Betty, because she is truly a shining example of just an incredible person on how to take on hardships and grow her business. And she's just incredible. And I think you'll find that out as well. So without further ado, here's Betty. You can find more about her at bettykempa.com. She is a business coach for courses, bettykempa.com, to find out more about her professionally. But for right now, let's hear her story and how she battled cancer, still while having the best year ever for her business. All right, let's dive in. Betty, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on and for taking some time to chat today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. You're one of my favorite group of humans. And when you asked me to pop in and have a little chat, I was excited to have this conversation with you. So, yay.
Well, and you just told me before we went live that you really have not told many people or opened up about your story in its fullest here. So I feel honored that you would be willing to do that with me and everyone listening. And the reason I wanted to have you on, I mean, we could talk about 100 different topics, but you have been through a lot this year. And I have some students who have been through a lot with family emergencies, medical emergencies. And me and my family just went through a really rough patch in our life, rough season. So I just feel like I've seen you do so well through a tough season. I would love to get a feel for how you did this. So thank you so much for being open.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And thanks for asking me. I think I need a little push to be able to share my story because, when you go through something hard, it can be difficult to open up. But I think when we are all ready to open up about whatever the heart, everybody's got something, right? We all have something. When you're ready to open up, I think that's always a good thing, because you can always help at least one other person by sharing your story.
And this conversation, I have no doubt, will help hundreds, thousands of people. I mean, the thing I realized that I just went through, and I don't know if you experienced this, but when you go through a tough season in life, no matter what it looks like, as an entrepreneur, you generally feel alone, or at least that's how I felt just a couple months ago. Like you feel like you see everyone's highlight reel on Instagram and all the socials, and you see everyone killing it and growing, and you feel like, I feel alone in this. So that's kind of the main reason I wanted to do this, is to make sure everyone knows you're not alone in life happens to everybody, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. True. Yeah, you're not alone. And when you're going through the tough stuff alone, it makes the tough stuff tougher. So always looking for that community. So yeah, where do you want me to start as far as my story?
I'd actually love just to give folks a feel for what you do, Betty. What's your elevator pitch? Like when somebody asks you what you do, what do you tell them? And then we'll dive in.
Okay, let me warm up the elevator pitch. So my name is Betty Kempa. I'm a business coach for coaches. I am a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. I am a IPEC graduate. That's where I was certified as a coach, ranked one of the top coaches in Denver by Influence Digest, and the founder of the Corporate to Six-Figure Coach Academy, where we help corporate renegades ditch the 9-to-5 and repackage their genius into a six-figure coaching business. And our goal here, of course, is to allow people who have the call. It's a calling to coach. If you've got that calling, you want to feel passionate about what you do, you want to enjoy the freedom of entrepreneurship. That's my mission, is to help people build that coaching business and replace their corporate income.
Oh, I love that. You're so clear about your mission. It's been so clear since I met you in our little mastermind group that you are a rock star. And I think this will give us some context for what we're about to talk about. But how established is your business now? Like, how long have you been in business? Because when you go through a rough season in life, if your business is brand new, it probably looks different than if you have a team and you're established. So where's your business at now?
Truth. I think we've been about 5 years at this point. 5 years at this point.
5 years. And what is your, heading into 2022, maybe early 2022, what did your team look like? Like, how big's your team? What did all that look like as far as your support system behind you?
Okay. So these are good questions. So heading into 2022, what did my team look like? I had a couple of VAs. I had a VA who was more like my admin VA, did all my posting on social media, my admin, and then one that was more video editing, graphic designer. So 2 part-time VAs, totally part-time, out in the Philippines. So 2 of them. I had 2 part-time, I call them accountability coaches. So they're on my team. I'm the head master coach, but I have 2 accountability coaches underneath me who work more one-on-one with my clients as well. And then I had just hired my first full-time salesperson. So I had just hired my first full-time salesperson. So, and I had a Facebook community manager as well.
Gosh, that's right. I forgot. I remember in our little mastermind call, you had mentioned the salesperson, and then it was like, I don't know, maybe the week after Jason let us know that you got the news about cancer and everything. So maybe just, if you would, what happened? What was the start of this journey?
Yeah. So what started this journey? So I would say December of, what year are we in? 2022, December of 2021. I was a very active person. I was running half marathons. I had just finished a half marathon in I don't know if it was December or November. And I was in training to do my next half marathon in Key West. Very active. I was going to Orange Theory. That was my little thing that I love to do. It's this kind of interval training, and very active. And as I'm doing all these things, I'm noticing while I'm training that my back is starting to hurt. And I just kind of randomly thought, I don't know, my back is hurting. I didn't know what it was. I tried to figure it out, getting massages. I paid thousands of dollars for a fancy chair, thinking it would fix my back. The back kept hurting, couldn't figure it out. Then I noticed in my training, I'm stretching and I'm feeling really sore, kind of in my armpit area. And that was weird. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? My body had always been pretty healthy. And I go home and I'm trying to kind of just think through this. And it's the first time I noticed in December. And now I find a lump in my breast. And so I still haven't at this point put everything together. The back hurts. The armpit is sore. Now I found a lump in my breast.
And this was the end of 2021,
December,
right?
Correct. Yeah. This was the end. So I immediately, rushed to the doctor the second I see that. And she, confirms, yep, there's a lump. The tough part, I will say, and this is something that I don't have answers for, but I'm on a mission now to fix the system. Once they found the lump, at least where I am, it was very, very hard to get the actual mammogram and biopsy to determine, yes, it's cancer. And that was actually one of the bottlenecks that was pretty frustrating. I couldn't just get in and get the mammogram. So we had to wait some weeks, almost a month to get in, at least where I am located. And that's something that I'm a mission to figure out. Why is it like that here? And how do we fix that?
Wow. A month? Wow.
Time. And we were looking at hospitals everywhere, just seeing like, who's the earliest I can get in? I remember sitting in my car after they told me, yes, it's a lump, but we don't know if it's cancer. You need to get the diagnostic or whatever the kind of mammogram was. I'm sitting in my car. I remember I had a list of all the different places I could get it. And I'm just calling, I'm dialing. And nobody had openings until January. So it was not a cool experience having to go through Christmas, just thinking in the back of my head, like, what is going on here? And what is this going to be? So come January, I finally got in. They did the mammogram. They did a biopsy in it, and it was cancer. And yeah, you hear those words, and I just, it's prevalent. But of course, we all think it's not going to happen to me. I'm healthy. I'm active. I'm this. I'm that.
Right.
So it was a major shocker. And more tests, and come to find out that the back pain was related because it was stage 4 cancer. So the breast cancer had metastasized and gone to my bones. So there were some tumors in the bones in my back, which weirdly, how would I ever realize that the back pain was actually coming from the breast?
Sure.
So that all happened in January. My world kind of came crashing in. And on top of everything else, before they could even get me into some hardcore chemo, we had to do surgeries because they came to find out, Betty, you're walking around with multiple fractures in your back.
Wow.
I was running and training with multiple fractures because my bones had gotten weak. So they had to do immediate back surgery. I then had to have right after that, a hip replacement, all these things. I had never had surgery like this before. And I kind of had to stop everything to do all these surgeries. And then I could start this heavy duty chemotherapy treatment after all those surgeries. So that's been my year. That's the icky part. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Betty. I mean, I know most of this because we're in a mastermind together, but just hearing you say it, I can't imagine. I mean, we just went through some stuff, but you have been through so much this year. My God. I'm honestly I'm astounded at your resilience. And even I will say too, this is one thing I remember right when that happened is you did not lose your optimism. It was I'm sure you've had your moments and highs and lows, but my gosh, to see somebody go through all that and then stay optimistic and look ahead and not let that, ruin their life, basically. How many people would have just called it quits right there? Hats off to you for that determination and that perseverance. Where does that come from? I'm kind of curious. Do you feel like it's been a mixture of the hard things that you've done in your life to get you to this point that makes you more resilient?
That's a good question. Truth. I've definitely been through a lot in my life. While I'm just divulging everything to your audience, I am also in recovery. I've been sober 11 years. I've been sober 11 years. So that was definitely something very tough that I went through, going through recovery and coming out on the other end, 11 years sober. So yeah, that's true. There's some resiliency with what I've been through in life. I think the other magical kind of part of it is being a coach. So I'm trained and certified as a coach. I went through 8 months of intensive training. And as coaches, it's this magical door that opens up once you become a coach where you learn how to use the power of the mind to, make choices on how you want to show up each day and how you want to feel and how you want to perception. So I actually I have it in front of me too. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go, but I created this Google Doc pretty quickly after I got diagnosed. And I just combined all these facts and, helpful things that I would review each morning. So I made a list of good news statistics. So good news statistics that kind of powered me up, like, okay, I can do this. Good news statistics. I had a healing meditation playlist that I would listen to, and it talked about like healing your cells. And it was just this healing meditation playlist. I do it every morning. I made a list of inspirational stories of cancer survivors who battled through and came out on the other end, some of whom are our friends that you know very well. So I have a list of people who did the dang thing and came out on the other end. I would review that list every morning. So-and-so at stage 3 got to the other end. So-and-so at stage 4. So I'd review my inspirational story list. And then I would say at the end of that, if they can do it, I can do it. I then had a list of affirmations. And again, I'm happy to go through them if you want to at some point, but I had a list of powerful affirmations I'd read out loud every morning. And then I would get into prayer, and I would look to a higher power, and I would pray, knowing that God's got my back and that there's a plan for me and there's a reason I'm going through this. And then, of course, I had a collection of some of my favorite inspirational quotes, and I would end, and this is all stuff I would do every morning. I'm going through prayer, meditation. It's like a boxing match. I'm training every single morning, prayer, right hook, affirmations, left jab, right? I'm doing this every single morning. And then I end my morning with gratitudes, all this stuff I'm grateful for. That's what would kind of pump me up each day. But to be clear, when I got the news, I sank to the bathroom floor and cried. And there were some days that I would just cry and lay in bed and hug my significant other. And, it would be tough. But anchoring to this kind of foundational stuff that I learned through coaching is what really got me through it.
You gave me chills hearing that little bullet list of those things you went through. I don't know if that Google Doc is something you'd be open to sharing with my audience.
Sure.
I know there might be. So that'd be great. Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to link that in the show notes if we could do that.
Sure.
And then, so much good stuff there, Betty, with just like taking control of your mind first. Cause every day is going to be tough and they're going to have its own challenges. But if you start with a primed mind, this is such a timely reminder for me, and I'm sure a lot of folks listening, that no matter what we're going through, whatever the season looks like, start with your mind and what you can control and prime yourself to take on what's ahead. Gosh, what a good reminder. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that in the personal season that I am in. So I so appreciate hearing that. I love what you did there. I have to ask, business-wise now, what did that look like? Because you get to this point where business is, I know you were firing on all cylinders and you're hiring and your, the trajectory is going up and up and up. You got momentum. And then, from the business front, now you're dealing with this stuff personally, you're going through surgeries, you're taking time off. So, so many questions, but what did that look like early on with your business?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was an upward trajectory. We were like growing. And then this happened and I was like, whoa, my mind was blown and I did have a choice, and by the way, no judgment. For some people that are like, yo, I want to step back, no judgment. We all have to do what feels right for us, right? So there's no beat yourself up that you didn't do X, Y, Z with your business, no judgment. But it is a choice, right? So I kind of looked at my business and I'm thinking, what the heck? I just hired my first full-time hire, my first salesperson. I've got all these new clients. What am I going to do right now? So, first and foremost, I did share the news with my clients. My clients are like my family. So I definitely shared the news with I'm going to be real. I keep it real. This is what I'm going through.
That's all. I wanted to ask about that because I know a lot of people, if they go through something, they don't let clients know because they're afraid that maybe they're not going to stick with me, or they're afraid that I'm not going to be able to get new clients. Yeah. It's also different with a coach when it's it is you. If you have a product that you sell and you have a team and they don't necessarily have contact with the owner or whoever, that might be a little bit different. But when it's a personal thing and you are the person that they ultimately see, it probably puts a different light on it, I would imagine. Yeah,
absolutely. And I was scared. There was a part of me oh my gosh, are people going to leave me? Are people going to still believe in me? And then there was another part of me that's I got to keep it real. Like I became a coach partly because I want to be my authentic self. And I'm not going to put on a pretend, I call it the corporate face I used to have to put on when I went to corporate America. Everything's fine. I'm like, I'm keeping it real with my clients. So, awesome. Yeah, I shared with them. I didn't share with my larger audience. I just wasn't ready. And again, no shame for anybody out there going through something tough. You don't have to feel like you have to share with your entire, audience, all your people that you're connected to, whatever you're going through, until you're ready. So for me, I kept it private. I just shared with my clients, my friends, and my family. I created it's a private Caring Bridge account where I could just update people on, because people want to know, like, did you get a surgery? Did you come out? How are you doing? And instead of getting a million texts, we just created a private Caring Bridge account to say, this is the latest update. This is what we're going through. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. I did that for my daughter Bria when she was born, not this last time, but when she was born, we were in the NICU for 56 days with her for 2 months.
Gosh.
And so I did that just because, it was like, well, we had no idea how long it was going to be. And once we got to a week and 2 weeks, and it was like, well, I'm getting flooded by messages, which is amazing. So much support, but like, I'm not going to just text the same thing over and over or copy and paste. So that's a great resource for anyone. I mean, my audience are web designers, so there's a lot of options people are pretty savvy with creating some sort of update site if they wanted to, but Caring Bridge is also that's what it's built for. It's like a private, type of site. So I love that you did that.
It was helpful. It was super helpful. So so January, the first thing I did, I guess step one, let me back up. I was also in January in the middle of about to do a massive launch in my business. I invested a ton of money on Facebook ads and hiring a team for the launch specifically. Thousands and thousands preparing for this launch. And I actually got the news, like a couple days before the launch.
Wow.
So I had to, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I got to tell hundreds and hundreds of people out there that I'm canceling, but I didn't feel ready yet to share with strangers my diagnosis. So, I just said, hey, due to unforeseen circumstances, I'm so sorry. We have to reschedule this, boot camp that we're doing, and, we'll keep you updated, et cetera. So that felt painful to do, but I wasn't ready yet to give them full details. But I guess the first thing I did was pull together my team. And I just gave them the news, and we, cried some tears, and, we over Zoom, just gave everyone the news, and my team stepped up and they're like, okay, what do you need us to do? So they took the reins with like communicating about the launch cancellation and that we were going to reschedule. So a couple things that were really important as I started, because the first thing that happened is I had to go in for surgery. So I was going to be in the hospital for a long period of time. So it wasn't just for me, like, chemo and then come home. It was, I'm going to be in the hospital. I'm going to be getting surgery first. So there are a couple of things that kind of saved the business as far as it continuing to run, even with me in the hospital getting surgery. The first thing is we have SOPs, standard operating procedures, in our business. So, even before I hired staff, I had Google Docs of step-by-step, this is how I do this is how I do that, this is how I do this. And even easier, I then started to just record my screen and say, today I'm going to do this task. And I'd record my screen and I'd do the task. And I created a private YouTube library of each little task I was doing, so that when I did start to hire virtual assistants and coaches and staff, I had this little video private library of all my little to-dos, and they could see a walkthrough of how I did each thing. So that was one thing that saved us, is we had SOPs. And are my SOPs perfect? No. Do you have to have perfect SOPs to continue to run your business? They don't need to be perfect. You just need to put something out there on paper or on video. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back. Like, oh, I got to get every step and everything perfect. No, you don't. Just the best you can, get it to paper or get it to video. So we did have SOPs. And when I went into the hospital, this is another very important thing. The two part-time coaches that were my accountability coaches, I'm mentoring them. Now, both of these coaches, they're part-time working for me. They're also graduates of my program. So they know my program back and forth. They're both certified in my program. They're certified as a coach. I have them already working with my clients privately. That's part of, you join the program. I teach at a group level, and then my accountability coaches work with you privately.
Gotcha.
One of the gals is I'm truly, mentoring her. She's incredible. Shout out to, they're both incredible. Shout out to both of them. But Rochelle is one of the gals that I was mentoring as a business coach. So she's very knowledgeable on business and marketing and sales. So when I went into the hospital, and she came through, she was literally like, so this is the other thing, y'all. Surround yourself with good people. When you're hiring a team, it's not just like, oh, these people are smart or they have this, that. They're good humans. So when I went through this, she's like, what do you need? I will literally do anything. This is a girl that I was like, I'm not going to cry today. She sent me a bracelet, a cancer, survivor bracelet, like a pink and a white. And she said, Betty, I'm wearing this bracelet too. And so is my mom. And she said, we're not going to take it off until you get through this. So like good people, darn it. Here I go. So long story short, Rochelle stepped up, and while I was in surgery, she was teaching my group. So she was teaching my group while I was in surgery. So she's hot seat coaching and teaching, and I'm in the hospital. The group is still running on because I have a mentee. So everybody should be thinking about whether you're going through cancer or whatever it is, who is my mentee that if something should happen, because life happens, that, they can step in and run the thing. If you should need to go out, your business should be able to keep going with or without you.
Oh, that's so good. And I think, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that, Betty. Yeah. I'm going to have to go to some tissues here at some point, I think, in this conversation, because it's just, and I think it might be different for a lot of web designers, depending on where they are in the journey. If they don't have a team, some do for sure. A lot of folks here have like small teams and smaller agencies. For folks early on, I think the next best thing would be like a tight-knit community. Would you agree that like having a network of close colleagues that could step in quickly if need be? That's really, I would imagine, the next best option.
Absolutely. And in fact, I'll say that too. I bring in to my program often other master coaches. Like I have a money mindset coach, a copy coach. I have other master coaches. I bring in experts all the time to teach in my program. So same thing. They stepped up too and said, hey, I'll teach a class while you're gone. Hey, I'll teach a class while you're gone. So whatever that looks like to you with whatever your business model is, having, a strong group of people that are good humans that are going to step in and support you, if something should happen.
And I'm kind of curious, what was your involvement through the first couple of months as you were going through surgery? Were you pretty much off the grid, or were you checking email in the hospital and just keeping up to date? And we were talking before we went live. When you go through a storm, like I've never enjoyed getting into email as much as I had more recently. It's like, I can just sit and quiet and get into my email and do some work. It was amazing. Did you do that in the hospital, or what did that look like? That's a good
question. Gosh, let me give you an honest answer. Let me think about that. I think, I was in the hospital multiple times for multiple surgeries. And let's be real, I was in shock at first.
Sure.
I was in total shock. So, it's hard for me to even remember like what I was thinking or going through.
And I think one thing it's important too is it didn't sound like there was much time. Like it wasn't like, okay, in a few months, let me get it's like, boom, here we go.
It was, I was in. So I think the way I was doing it, I was rolled in, went to surgery, got out of surgery. I think I was mostly keeping contact to my mentees, right? Like I said, the one guy, I had somebody I was mentoring her, and she kind of took over running the group while I was gone. So it was more the people I was checking in with were my team, my mentee, my team. That was kind of more, and my clients, because I was honest with them, were just like, let her go through the surgery, So I wasn't getting a lot of messages from my clients. But again, I had just trained. Rochelle is just such a strong coach and such a strong mentee that she was able to, effectively train just as strongly as I could, while I was gone. So I was checking messages, but not like responding to this, responding to that. It was more just the team checking in. And
that totally makes sense that you start with team and the utmost important type of things that would keep things going and keep the business afloat. And then the next question I had was about clients. How was that received with your clients? Because one thing that I've experienced and that a lot of my students who have been through nothing, I think, quite like this, but points of whether it is cancer or whether it is a surgery or a life just situation happening, clients are people too. And let's be real. Like 99% of people are going to understand and they're going to give grace. And in fact, one of my students more recently said like her clients offered to pay her more, like pay through the year to help keep her afloat during a tough time. You know, like, so, I experienced some of that kind of stuff as well. I had clients like donate to our family when we went through our NICU stay outside of the business. So they're like, I say that to say I wouldn't be too afraid if you feel like you should let your clients know because it's going to impact them. I would not be afraid that they're all going to peace out and run away. Like most people are going to be so supportive. Did you experience that as well?
That's a good question. Yeah, my clients rallied around me. They did. And, they were sending care packages and, thoughtful things to help me like feel cozy and better and, supportive posts and, letters. And they rallied around me. And here's what I would say. If you do get the occasional client that's like, this is a problem, then that's not your kind of client anyway. Who wants to work with a client? Like there's the door, And
honestly, what type of person, I mean, that would be a heck of a person to be like, dang it, Betty, how dare you go into surgery and help with your cancer while my project should take precedence?
No, everybody was great. And for, I have a group coaching and one-on-one coaching. So the one-on-one clients, I just extended their contract. They did a contract with me and I said, hey, I'm in the hospital. Let's extend it by X amount of weeks. They were totally fine with that. And the cool thing is with my one-on-one clients, it's a 2-for-1 deal. So even though they're depending on me as their one-on-one coach, they still had access to the entire group coaching program. So that just to be like, explain like what this looks like, even though I wasn't, I'm in surgery, they had a group coaching call once a week. So they had, and that was still being led by my mentee. They had a copy coach call with the copy coach, a money mindset call with the money mindset coach. I have an entire digital platform with, an on-demand learning center, videos on every module, worksheets on the information is all there. It's not like my clients had to wait for Betty to get back. The info is all there. They just had to continue to implement without me, which is what the rest of the team was there to help them do.
That's awesome. And that may differ from web design projects in a way that, like, going back to our NICU experience, the newborn intensive care, for one, I did not know how long that would be. I didn't know if it was going to be 2 weeks or if it was going to be months. It ended up being 2 months. We were afraid it was going to go longer. But what was interesting and what made that extra stressful for me personally was I had just landed our biggest project ever. It was a $15,000 website, which was my biggest project. And we started at the end of, going back now. We started at the end of March. And we were collecting content and stuff. And then they wanted to go live by June 1st. So just, about two and a half month window or so, or a couple months. And then my daughter was born on April 9th. And that's when our NICU journey started. So as that progressed, one thing that was daunting for me was like, I'm supposed to get this huge website done on June 1st. I can't even think right now. But I just talked to him and I told him the situation. I said, we don't know how long it's going to be. Are we okay to bump this back a month if we need to, or even a little longer? And guess what he said? Absolutely. Totally understand. And there were some points where he was checking and I think was like, so, I know you're going through a lot, but how are things going? And I just had to get a little more hands on deck and help through that situation, but we did it. And it was about a month and a half later than we had initially planned, but it was that same situation of just being open about it, but then also doing the work when I could. And it sucks.
What you can when you can.
Yeah. Working in the hospital sucks, but sometimes if you're able, personally, I enjoyed it. Like we just talked about, it was kind of nice to like not hear from doctors and not just sit and think about things. You could just do some work and it felt amazing.
Yeah. Amen. And I will say for myself too, I was definitely, while I was in the hospital, like answering questions. My team was kind of, how do I want to describe this? Clients would ask them something. And if the team didn't have the answer, they would Slack me. So I was audio messaging back and forth with the team. Gotcha. But to your point, once I got out of the hospital, I was like raring to go with my business. I was like, let's go. Because for me, And again, no, I don't want anybody to feel shamed if they have to step away from their business when they're going through a tough time. I'm just saying for me, because I'm so passionate about what I do, and I don't know what it is, the way I'm wired. For me, my business is a bright light that helps me, to your point, unplug from all the medical, the this, the that, the stress, the what if, it was just like, yes, like this thing that I love where I can serve and help people. So it gives me the chills. It gets me excited. I get pumped up. Even Ryan, my partner, said, Betty, when you're having a tough day and then you go into your office and shut the door, I hear you on the Zoom with your clients, you come alive. And that's what I used my business as this year, is this like blessing, this bright light that pumps me up and gets me excited. And it's actually helped me to get through going through something so tough. And
it's amazing.
That's it. That's how it worked for me. And yeah,
I was going to say, what a shining example of building a business you love that energizes you. Yes. Yeah. Business can be tough. Yes. We've all had our seasons with business. Yeah, there's stresses and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you are creating, which everyone listening and watching this, you can create the business you love. You absolutely 100% can do. That's one reason I absolutely love the online entrepreneurial world and web design world. You can do the things you love to do, work with the people you want to work with, and you can do just that. You can go into your office or go to a coffee shop or go down to the lobby in a hospital and do work, and it fill you up, and you love it, and you enjoy it. And you'll enjoy it even more when you go through a season like this, I've found, because it's like on a normal day, okay, I'll check some email. Well, recently I was like, I'm so excited to check some email and see where things are at. Yeah, there's some things I got to get to, but yeah, it's a bright light. So I love that encouragement. I think you're all about getting away from the corporate world where the opposite is true. It's like you go to work, I got to go to work. It's like no matter what you're going through in life, work is going to be a drag. In the online entrepreneurial world, we can make it the complete opposite. So I think it's such an important note to hit on, and a message that I want to get out there, that it can be that it fills your cup. Like you just said, it's that bright light that can cheer you up. And yeah, I love that. So I didn't mean to derail us. I love that point.
I was just going to say too, because I tell this to my clients all the time too, because I'm not a special unicorn with what I'm going through. Everybody's going through something. Every single person listening to this has something in their life that they're struggling with, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a death in the family, whether it's a sickness in the family, whether it's financial issues. Like everybody has something, and you can choose whether you're going to allow that thing to stop you in your tracks from going after your dream, or whether you're going to allow that thing to be your rocket fuel to, set you on fire to going after that dream even harder. And for me, instead of allowing this to be like a blockade to achieving my dream of running this business, I allowed it to be my rocket fuel. And I let it fuel me to go after this even harder, because it lights me up, it makes me happy, and I'm serving other people. And that's what I feel like I was put on this earth to do.
Do you find that the experience as a whole, and even at that point, just a couple months in, do you feel like it made you appreciate your business more and appreciate the monotony of, just running the day to day? Yeah.
I said all the time while I was going through this in the beginning, I used to say, like, imagine if I was still in my corporate 9-to-5 going through this. Like, I mean, I know you can get time off in your corporate job and they can give you leave of absence. I understand that. But at a certain point, like, I would have to either quit or go back to work. It's because I'm going through this like all year. And I just was like, man, I can't imagine having to go back into a 9-to-5, put on dress pants, like sit there at my computer, be in these meetings. Like, I literally, my brain would explode. And the fact that I can be in this space where I am wearing pajama pants as we speak, Josh. Like, I'm doing whatever the hell I want. And I can, I'm free to my day. I have a CEO schedule. I work with clients Tuesday through Thursday. I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday that are my own. I construct my schedule how I want. That was a big piece of what allowed me to heal, because I control my schedule.
That is such a good point. You are hitting like the utmost passionate part of my heart with why I do what I do with teaching people how to build web design businesses, because the same is true.
Yes.
My entire mission is to help people build freedom and a lifestyle they love, not only for the day to day to travel or have a family or whatever they want to do, but to be able to get through life situations and not have to be tied down to going into work or doing a certain schedule. Like that really became true for me during that first NICU experience, because yes, it was super difficult. It was a long journey, a lot of tears, highs and lows. But at the end of the day, I saw so many other families that either the mom had to go to work and the dad would be there, or the dad was at work and, you know, just one parent was with the kid, or no parents were with the kid for the whole day. And that broke my heart. And it made me so appreciate web design and this online world that I could work in the room if I needed to. I have my laptop. I can go down in the lobby and do some work for an hour and then pop back up and not miss any doctors coming in. I go across the street to a Panera, do some work, then come back. Like, that is such a good reminder that yes, there are so many hardships and stresses and challenges running your own business. But at the end of the day, in my mind, nothing will top the freedom to be able to have the lifestyle you love and then deal with life when it comes at you.
Oh my gosh. I always say my worst day as an entrepreneur is still better than my best day in my corporate 9-to-5. Give me the worst day as an entrepreneur any day over the best day in a corporate 9-to-5. Like this, I don't care how hard it gets. And I'm not saying, oh, it's easy being an entrepreneur. Yeah. It's not, but I'll take the worst day of being an entrepreneur any day. And even going through this, like this month, like there are definitely, you know, days where I would take a client call and then I go lay on my bed flat, you know, my back's hurting and I lay flat for hours and I take a nap midday.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Like I can care for myself and allow myself to heal just as much as I need to, because I'm in control of my schedule. And that's what I did this year. That's awesome.
Now, I'm kind of curious because this was not a quick type of situation. It's not like you broke your arm and you were out for a couple months, you know, like you had these surgeries, but then you started chemo. Like, what did that look like as things progressed? Because I'm sure the challenges evolved as well, right? When you started chemo and got into the weeks and months of recovery.
Yeah, I know. This was an interesting journey for me because, there were the surgeries and the hip replacement with the bones. Side note, Josh, I had to cancel 2 launches. The first one when I got the diagnosis, and then I set up the second one. I'm like, okay, we're going to do the second one like a couple months later. It's like, okay, I got the back surgery. I'm good to go. I'm not kidding. I set up the second launch. I'm not kidding, the day of the second launch, I was so geared up. We had more people than ever. I threw all this money at it again. I was excited, right? Something to take my mind off everything. Literally got a call from the doctor the day of the second launch saying, get off your feet immediately. We found XYZ fractures. We need to immediately do a hip replacement or your bone could collapse. Literally get in a wheelchair and you're coming directly in. And once again, crying, got on the phone with Zoom with my team, canceled my second launch, feeling embarrassed that what is my audience going to think, right? But at the end of the day, all worked out. Finally, after going through the surgeries, started chemo. That ain't easy. Started chemo. And for my form of chemo, it was an all day chemo. It's like an all day. Interesting too. Fun fact. With the chemo I was on, this is kind of cool. Some of the advancements they've made in the medical field, to keep your hair, you can wear this kind of like cold cap. And so you freeze your head while you're undergoing chemo. So I'm chuckling. Cancer's not funny, but I got to laugh at something. I would have a cold cap. I'd have cold mittens so I wouldn't have neuropathy. Cold slippers so I wouldn't have foot neuropathy. And I'm just sitting here freezing, going through chemo, and I'm there for the whole day. Anyways, come back. Finally, I'm like, okay, chemo's not easy, but I'm going to do my third launch. We're going to do it this time. We're going to do it. I had canceled the first 2. Did the first launch. Record number of people attending that launch because the first 2 got backed off. I had to cancel. Sure. Record number of people attending. Highest number of sales we've ever had in my entire life. We pulled in 1 week, $225,000 in sales. Oh
gosh, that's so amazing, Betty. I remember that and just being floored. Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Crazy
and
stuff.
How long? So the third launch was you were able to do it. That was the biggie. How long was that from the first launch that you had to cancel? Was that like a few months from that time?
It was like maybe 2 months later.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it was just long enough to where, because I'm sure a lot of the people are like super supportive, but I'm sure they're curious, like when is this going to happen?
Yep. Yep. So it was incredible. And not just money. It was such a hard year to see that this dream of mine could still come to fruition, even with the year I had, and the team is celebrating. And one of my employees told me the first full-time hire I ever hired, the salesperson, she's part base, part commission. She made so much money in commission that long. She said, Betty, for the first time ever, I'm taking my kids on vacation since my husband and I, divorced. I'm taking the kids on a vacation. And so it's just such a cool moment to see my team being able to celebrate, pay off some of the medical bills that came along with that. And just the whole thing was cool. And pay it forward too. So many people have shown up for me while I'm going through this. So Ryan and I, my partner and I, have really made it a point with what I've gone through this year to always look for ways to pay it forward. So we're constantly looking for ways to pay it forward with, especially people in the cancer community. And that's been a joy too, just finding these little pockets of people and different ways, whether it's monetary, whether it's, products, gifts, services, time, talking, just ways to pay it forward with this community. And it's been a blessing just to see humanity at its finest. Yeah. With how people supported me and how we can support others.
Oh, that's amazing. Gosh. So much good stuff. I mean, when you think about somebody going through a hard time, usually the last thing you would think about is gratitude or them having a giving spirit. But I have found that to be true. And that's what we experienced. My wife and I, we didn't know anything about rare chromo kiddos, which my oldest Bria has. She has a rare chromosome, situation. And that led to a cleft lip and cleft palate. I didn't know anything about that. I never knew much about NICU stays. There are all these things that my heart is being opened up to. And I want 100%, the plan is to be able to invest more as time allows, as our family, to be able to not only donate, but just to do something to support that community because we're going through it. We're in the heart of it right now. So, it's such a good point. And I'm kind of curious, do you feel like at any point during that process, I don't know how long and where you're at now. We haven't talked quite about where things are at now. I'm happy to share
where I'm at now too, when you're ready.
I'm just kind of wondering, was there a point where things not got easier, but turned a corner to where you feel like you were past the worst of it?
I do feel like that. I mean, with, what's the word? Optimistically cautious, right? Because I kind of have gotten
cautiously optimistic.
There it is. I got to a point where I'd love to be it's over for good. But with the type that I'm dealing with for the rest of my life, every 3 weeks, I'm going to be taking some kind of a shot, some kind of medication, which is a blessing. I'm bring it. Cause I'm living, I'm going to live a long life. So if that means medicine for the rest of my life, then I am so grateful that there's medicine and technology to allow me to live a long and healthy life. But definitely a turning point, I think there were milestones throughout this process. So I think that successful launch, it was just so fun for the first time to celebrate something, cause it just had one hit after another.
I'm so glad that worked for you because especially after 2, it's one thing we need to cancel one, but then for the second one, I didn't realize it was the day before or day of.
It was
you need a win.
That was the first time. I needed a win. So that first time, that was once I was done with the major surgeries and, that was good. Just getting out of the hospital, man. I wanted out so bad. I was yo, I'm going to take these core. And by the way, God bless nurses. God bless nurses. They are angels. Love my nurses. But I was ready. I'm I'm breaking out of here. So I think turning point, I think once I was done with chemo, the heavy duty chemo that was making the hair fall out and, it was an all day thing. It was very intense. Once I was done with my chemo and I got to ring the bell, I think that was one of the biggest turning points. Of course, we recorded me ringing the bell and the nurses all stood in a row and they clapped for us and I'm hugging them. And that was a really cool moment. And then I think, I went from being a runner to have to be in a wheelchair, so my first walk, my first steps. Then I started using a walker. So then the first time I walked without using a walker. And then the first time I ran my first couple of steps. So I think there wasn't like a turning point, but there are many beautiful moments as I continue to kind of crash through these milestones in both personal life and business.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's just like, oh, now I'm going to get emotional because I'm thinking of like my daughter who is still recovering from a prolonged seizure, and it was super scary, 8-day hospital stay. And she's still working through paralyzation on her left side. And I think I mentioned to you, our baby boy came while she was in the hospital.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
It was a Monday morning, October 10th. I'll never forget it. We found my daughter in her bed, just having this seizure that may have been happening all night. We had no idea. She looked fine on the monitor, so we had no idea. I go to the squad. We call the squad. I go into children's with her, and then we're there. She's starting to wake up, make recovery. My little boy comes, and then the day after my daughter came home, my wife had a preeclampsia scare and was admitted for 2 days or 2.5 days in the hospital for her because she was like probably hours away from a serious situation. It was just all that stuff, all rains it pours kind of situation. But as we've been home and we're recovering, and my daughter's starting to get a little more use out of her left side. We're in PT. She's doing things, but she's not where she was. And it just, I say that to say it makes these little things just so precious in life. Like now she's crawling. I mean, it's part of it. Like I get teary every time I think about it because I just want to see her walk again and enjoy her normal 4-year-old toddler self.
She will.
And she is making progress. It's just very, very slow. But like 2 days ago, she got up on the couch all by herself while using her little left arm to get up there. Yeah. And it just makes that like before her seizure and everything that happened, it was just no big deal. It was like, oh, she got on the couch. Now it's like the most precious, amazing little thing. So I say that to say, like, I think going through this situation, I'm sure what you've experienced, it does just make you look at life differently, and it makes you appreciate the small little things. My wife and I were joking about how excited we were just to be bored again, like to just have like a boring day with raising littles. It just makes you appreciate like the level of appreciation
through the roof.
Oh, yeah. Through the roof. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'm so glad. Moments. I'm so glad that, that's what you've experienced and, you're able to, and I'm sure that implements into business too. It's like, it makes you just appreciate the littlest things and not stress over some of the stuff that you may have been super stressed about.
Stuff, man. Right? Don't sweat this. Everything is a gift. Everything is a gift. Your story too, man. Yeah. When it rains, it pours. And I love hearing her milestones as well. And she will get there. She will get there. And so am I, we'll taking our first steps together. So
you guys are warriors. That there is no doubt about that. Like I'm surrounded by warriors. Your story is so amazing. And, one of my students who I know got in contact with you, like she's going through a cancer situation as well. So it seems like I'm seeing this more. And I think it was interesting. You talked about whether or not to share it with certain clients or certain levels of clients. Like you have your immediate clients and you have your audience. I chose to share it publicly just because number one, I needed to pause my podcast and I didn't know, like, is this going to be another several month thing that we're in the hospital? I had no idea. So I felt like it was important to share, but by doing that out of the woodwork, so many people sent support and love and had a lot of similar stories. Like I didn't know anything about the world of seizures. And now I'm like experiencing and finding out that it's very common and it happens. It's something that is not uncommon, at least in the world of kiddom and especially when it comes to special needs and stuff. So anyway, I say all that to say there's so much light. I know everyone goes through different situations, but finding the light and seeing the light during all this and just appreciating life and the littlest things, I think so important. So I'm so glad. Long story short, I'm so glad to see where you're at with this, Betty. So
thank you.
It's amazing.
And I'm in a good place now just to kind of like, cause I know it sounds scary when I say stage 4 cancer, people are rattled by that. I was rattled. I'm good. I feel good.
That's
I don't have
amazing.
any pain. The pain in my back has gone away. I was blessed to be, my partner is a fitness trainer. So Ryan is cooking me healthy meals, and we're downstairs in the gym 4 times a week. I'm walking 1.5 miles per day. And then he's got me doing weights and stretches, and I feel incredible. I have an amazing medical team. Technology, medicine has come such a long way. I have been told I'm going to live a long life.
Oh, that's amazing.
I am so blessed to have the medicine. So when we get these hard things that we hear and we think it's the end of the world, there's hope. And I'm living proof of that. And every day gets stronger and stronger. And one of these days, I'm going to be back to my half marathon status and raising money for cancer as I run some kind of a half marathon coming up here. So,
that's so amazing, Betty. You are truly inspirational. Every meaning of the word. I mean, I love your story. Especially, I like that we're talking now that where you've been through all this and you've learned so much, particularly just solely on the business front with everything you laid out with how to keep your business going. But it starts with you. It starts with your mind. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Mindset is everything.
Yes. Everything. That's what got me through the whole thing. And we've already this year in business, so personally, health-wise, am I ever going to be able to say like, oh, I'm 100% now, I'm almost in remission, but I'm feeling good. Business-wise, we've already more than doubled what we did last year, and the year isn't even over.
That's
so we're crushing records this year. So
life is good. Proof that even if you go through a challenging experience, you can still have your best year ever.
Best year ever. And not at the what's the word? It's not like I had to spare my health to have a good year in business. It was both. I absolutely rallied around my health first, mental, emotional, physical, that came first. And because the business was set up, systems, processes, SOP, team, community, right? We had all the pieces set up. That's what, allowed it, plus the mindset piece, us to have the best year ever.
Oh, that's amazing. I was going to ask you for a final thought to put a cap on this, but I can't think of anything better than that. I absolutely love what you laid out there. And you said it, mindset,
everything,
mindset,
man.
Everything. Well, Betty, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being an open book on your situation. I know this is going to help so many people, and everyone's situation looks different, but even with what I personally went through recently, like everything you said has hit me so heavy and so hard on this in a good way, as far as like the things to do. And no matter what the situation is, when you're pulled away from your business and life hits you, whether it's a death in the family, whether it's something with your littles, whether it's your partner, whatever it is, whether it's you personally, all the challenges are similar in a lot of ways, with just things being out of whack and not being normal. So I love your mission and just the reminder that it starts with you, starts with your mindset, and have all these things in order. Betty, you're so awesome. You're a warrior. Thank you for your time today. And I'm excited maybe to chat for the next time to see what the next year looks like with this new level of appreciation and everything going on.
I love it. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Betty. Hey friends, it's Josh here. I just wanted to mention a couple quick things before you head out. First off, if you've been enjoying the show, please consider leaving a podcast review. I personally read all the podcast reviews. I love hearing your thoughts and feedback on the show, and it also really helps grow this podcast. You can do that easily if you go to joshhall.co/podcast review, and you can leave a review wherever you listen to the show. And then I also wanted to make sure you know that for all the extras on every one of these podcast episodes, you can go to joshhall.co/podcast. We have a post there for every episode, which includes full transcriptions, timestamps, and all the links and resources that we mentioned. So just go to joshhall.co/podcast for all the extra goodies. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode.